as you can see, we are already up with our special guest for today, Hussain Hakeem. He's going to be sharing with us on custom slicers and how you can achieve more with custom slicers. And just so before I go into introducing him, just to mention season's greetings to everyone. Happy holidays. And this session is powered by both Enterprise DNA and Power BI, like UrBizEdge. Enterprise DNA, they are into Power BI training and more recently also into Power Platforms. And they every week they give to one of the audience a special subscription pack. So you should watch out for that. Make sure you pay attention so that you can be the winner for today's giveaway from Enterprise DNA. And like I did mention, Merry Christmas also from UrBizEdge. We are a data analysis firm and we strictly try to provide very hands-on training. So in case you need training around Power BI, financial modeling, Microsoft Excel, we are got you covered. And starting from middle of next month, we have classes already running. So in big data, in-depth Excel, Python, Power BI. So you can always check us out for your training needs. And for the main person for today, our special guest, his name is Hussain Hakeem, and he's a business intelligence analyst at Foresight BI and Analytics. He's experienced data analyst with some years of working experience in both the IT and the service industries. His skills cover Microsoft Excel, Power BI, SQL, Python, and the entire data analysis um, environment. So it's with pleasure I bring up Hussain Hakeem. So please feel free
Hello.
to share your screen and great. Good. Can you?
Okay. All right. So good afternoon, everyone. Many thanks for the introduction. This is really an honor for me, and I'm really happy to be here.
Yeah, you're welcome. It's a pleasure for us too.
Okay. All right. So slicers. Uh, Slicers are really important visuals that we use regularly when dealing with analysis and reports, right? And there are several scenarios where our um, regular slicer cannot really might not be efficient enough, if I may use that, to solve certain scenarios that we have at hand. So we might need to use custom slicers. There are a lot of custom slicers. We might not be able to go through all of them. However, I have picked four of them that we'll be discussing in this class, and we'll see how we can we'll see the edge that they have over our regular slicer. And they are the timeline slicer, the Tickler slicer, the play axis, and the attribute slicer. Okay, so I would start with the timeline slicer, right? And what I'm going to do is I have created a line chart, right, that shows sales over a period of 2014 to 2017. And what I've also done is that I have tried to highlight the days that we have our top sales, right? Now, what I want to do is I need to be able to, filter this chart based on year, month, and based on date, right? If I may use that. Uh, if I use our regular slicer, so I'm just going to bring in our slicer. I'll click anywhere inside the canvas and I'm just going to select the slicer. right? If I select the slicer, what I want is I need to be able to navigate from year to quarter to day to weeks, like that. In terms of hierarchy, I need to be able to create an hierarchy inside the slicer. Um, One way I can go about that is to add my year into my slicer, and I can follow that up with my month based on the way I want the hierarchy to follow. Okay, so I'm just going to bring in my quarter, right? And I'm going to bring in the month, and you would see that I will just expand this, right? So that we can see this. I don't know, is this legible enough?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes, it
all
is.
right, all right. So you would see that it is kind of, I want to navigate to the month in our fourth quarter, right? And you see that I need to keep, you know, drilling down into the slicer for me to be able to navigate myself to where I want to go. Now, sometimes it can be really, really stressful using the regular slicer. However, there is a slicer that I feel is more appropriate for this kind of scenarios, right? And it's just my opinion. I feel like when you have scenarios like this timeline slicer can come very handy. Okay. So what I'm basically going to do now is I'm just going to take away this slicer. I'm just going to put it by the right, or I can just delete it so that I don't have two slicers. Okay. And I am going to import the slicer. I already have it imported, but just for the sake of the audience, when you want to bring in custom visuals, you go into just click on this dot 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 that you have here, which means more, and you see get more visuals. Okay, so when you click on the get more visuals, my store is opening up. All right, so you are inside the custom visuals environment where you have a lot of custom visuals here, and you can just do a quick search, right, of the timeline slicer. So I have the timeline slicer here. Now, once you click on it, you have a description and an overview of what the timeline slicer actually looks like. Okay, so the timeline slicer is a graphical date range selector used as a filtering component in Power BI, right? So I will just add this to my visual, and if I add this now, it's going to take me to, it's going to add it to my visuals that I have here. Okay, so it's telling me that I already have it there, so I'm just going to say cancel, and I already have the timeline slicer. So what I'm going to do now is I will select the timeline slicer, and I'm just going to expand this. Okay, so like I said, I want to be able to create an hierarchy and be able to switch from the hierarchies easily. So what I'm going to do is I will drag my calendar table, and I'm just going to put that inside the slicer. don't know why that is doing. Okay, sorry about that. Power BI can be really funny at times. Okay, so I have all my dates, right? Since I already have a calendar table in my data model, right? And up here, I'm just going to put this on focus mode so that we can see it more clearer. Okay, so up here, I have all the hierarchies inside the way it is in my calendar table, right? So my calendar table, I created the calendar table using DAX, right? And I use the calendar function to generate dates that range from 2014 till the 31st of 2017, right? Based on my data set. Okay, so and I've created several hierarchies as well. Okay. The distance between each joint. Okay. All right. So you would see that I have okay, I'll just collapse this so that we can have more space. I'll collapse this. Okay. So we have right now I have a small space up here that allows me to be able to move from hierarchy to hierarchy. Okay, so I can move from the year hierarchy to quarter, down to month, to week, and to day. Okay, so and whatever I select on this my timeline slicer is going to affect my my report, the visual that I've already created here. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm just for us to see how it works. Now I'm now on the year and I want to be able to see which days did we make more sales in 2014. All right. So currently I've selected 2014 now. Right. If I click on 2015, you see that I have I can see at a glance, and if I just over this, on the 19th of September 2015, we had 500 naira or dollar total sales as compared to the 11th of 2015, which we had our highest sales. So this timeline slicer, like I said, you see, it has a way of simplifying hierarchies within the calendar table. Hello, can anyone hear me?
Yes, yes, clearly.
Okay, all right. So I don't know if anyone has any question.
So for now, maybe let me just give them a bit of time. Any questions from anyone in the house? The only question so far I have answered, the person was not certain of what tool we were in. So I told him this is Power BI and he's already settled with my answer. Any other questions from anyone in the house? Okay, right now, no questions. But if you have any question, feel free to drop them in the chat box and later on, I'll draw the attention of the speaker to your question, the presenter. So I think we can go on.
All right. Okay. So the next type of slicer that we have is the Tickler slicer, and this is really an interesting one because I had a conversation with my boss, right? And he was actually the one that he had a situation like this, and he was able to come up with, sometimes clients have some kind of requirements that they will ask from you, and you be disturbed, right? What kind of requirements are these? So he was the one that bet the idea of the Tickler slicer, right? And basically, what we want to achieve with the Tickler slicer is, okay, so let me just show this. I'm bringing in the regular slicer, right? And I want to bring in my month. Okay, so I'm just going to drag the months to this field, right? And what I want is, I want to have control over the slicer. So what I want is, I want 3 columns of January, February, March, right? And every other month can just fall under. Now, the regular slicer cannot do that, right? So if I come here and I say drop down, or I can say list, and I come to the format, I say slicer setting, and I change this to horizontal, right? What I have is January, May, September. But what I actually want in terms of column now is, I want January to be here, and where we have May, I want February to be there, right? And this was actually a client requirement, right? And what he did was, after taking this to horizontal, right? After changing the orientation of the slicer to horizontal, you come back to the format page, and he now selected the Tickler slicer, right? And he had hit this way. Okay, so but when he did it, I think there was an update or something, because he had to go back and forth twice in order to get it sorted out. So that is just one of the advantages of the Tickler slicer. Another thing is, if you have, you can also insert image into the Tickler slicer, but the image has to be in form of a URL from your data source that you can add, as a column now to this image space that you have here, the field that you have for image here. So you can also add images to your Tickler slicer. So is there anyone that has ever had a case where they had to do something like this?
Well, for me, it has been more of the image part, using the image. But this is cool to see that it can do that January, February, March, that horizontal arrangement, rather than the way the native one was doing vertical arrangement. So that's cool. I'm sure
Yes.
that's too. If anyone wants to say anything, and you need me to give you the presenter ability to unmute, just raise your hand. I will do that. But you can carry on. If anybody has a comment too, feel free to type in or raise your hand. And, but this is interesting. Yeah. Hakeem, are you still there?
Yes, I am. So
Oh,
just to point it out, right? The only reason why this works is because of the sequence that I followed, right? So I'm just going to take this away, right? And let me take this away so that we'll see something really quick. Okay, so if I bring in the chiclet slicer and I just bring in my month, it is not going to arrange it the way it has done or the way we did it initially, right? So you need to go back to the regular slicer.
Wow.
Once you go back to the regular slicer, change your orientation to horizontal and then go back to the Tickler slicer.
Oh, okay, now I get. Whoa. Okay, cool.
Okay. If we have no questions, I will just move to the next. All right. So the next kind of slicer that I really like is the play axis, right? And the play axis is a kind of slicer that gives you is a dynamic slicer that allows you to animate your visuals, right? So instead of manually trying to, order several items that you have. For example, I'm just going to take it away and I'm going to bring in our normal slicer. And what I really want is I'm going to bring in here, okay? And I want anytime that I select a particular slicer, I want these our top 5 products this is the total sales that we have for our top 5 products, right? And this is the total sales that I have for my regions, right? So if I select 2014, what I want to see is which products gave us the highest sales in 2014, right? But what I really want to achieve, right, is I want this to be automated in some way. So I don't want to keep navigating back and forth, right? That is where the play axis come in place, right? The play axis helps you animate your visual, okay? So I am just going to select the play axis now, right? And okay, so 2 ways to which you can go about it, like I said, if you want to get the visual, you go to get more visuals and then you search for the visual that you're looking for and then you can add it to the visualization pane in your Power BI. But I already have it here. That is why I'm picking it from here. Or what I'm going to do is I'll just take it away so that anyone can see how we brought it in. Okay, so chocolate. All right, so let me bring that in, get more visuals. Okay, what am I looking for? I'm looking for the play axis. Okay, so I have that here. Now, the play axis. So we have an overview. The overview is a description of the custom visual, right? And it says the play axis. It is perfect to show your reports without having to click every time you want to change values of a field tab. Like I said, you want to be able to navigate in between your years without actually clicking on it in your slicer. That is where the play axis come in place. So I'm just going to add this to our visualization pane. Okay, so we have the play axis here. Now, I am basically going to click on the play axis and I'm just going to reduce this, and I'll bring in my year. Okay, so now I'm going to just format the visual. So clicking on the visual, I'll come to the format your visual, right? And I'm going to come to the animation setting, right? I can increase this a bit fast, so I'm making it, I can change the color and say show all colors instead of making it look more nice. Okay, so now if I click on play, what is happening now is it is showing me what I want to see, but not in the way that I actually want to see it, right? So one way that I can solve that problem is I want this axis to move. I want it to flow, right? You know, I want it to be able to go up and then come down as the product that I'm analyzing, or also in terms of the total sales, right? So what I'm going to do is I will come to clicking on the slicer, I'll come to format here, right? Okay, so I will come to format and I will click on edit interaction. Okay, so once I click on edit interaction, I'm going to, what we have highlighted here, what we have selected is highlights. That is why we are having that type of reaction that we have. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to change this to filter, and I'm also going to change it to filter as well, right? And now if I do my play, you will see that it is going to move okay. So basically, that is what we can do with the play axis. So there's a lot of formatting options, right, that you can always do on the play axis. In terms of the animation, in terms of color, you know, you might want to change the color that you have to match what you have on your legend. So you have all that options available for you. Is there any question concerning the play axis?
Any question so far on what's been covered? Anyone, any question? Okay. Maybe they are following very well and getting. I'm guessing towards the end when you ask your question, maybe we should get everybody answering since they seem to be not asking any question. Well, I think we can go on. I'm monitoring the chat box also.
Okay. Okay. All right. So the next item that we have, the next type of slicer that we are going to be talking about is the attribute slicer, right? And what the attribute slicer is a combination of a chart and a slicer, right? So you are able to filter based on a chart. Okay, so I have a table here that I've created, right? And I have the subcategories of my products, right, on the axis. I also have the category because I want to know the total number of sales right, that we have sold that made up what I can see inside my slicer here. But before I do that, I'm just going to take this slicer away, right? And I'm going to bring in my regular slicer. Products, and I'm going to bring in subcategory. Okay, so I have all my subcategories here, and the idea behind what I want to do is that I need to be able to see the total sales, right? Because this was actually a requirement that I got on a project. The person wants to be able to see the total amount of each product that we have sold in terms of subcategory, and wants to see a breakdown of how those things were sold in terms of the category. Okay, so what I did was that I tried to see how I can do it with regular slice. I couldn't do that. So I did my research, and I found out that the attribute slicer can help me solve that problem. So after I have brought in my subcategory inside my slicer, I'm just going to click on the attribute slicer because I have it here already. Now that I have my attribute slicer here, like I said, the client wanted to see the total values, right? So I have a measure on my table that I call total sales. So I'm just going to add that to the values, right? And I have, you see that when I over this, I'm going to see the total amount that we have sold per subcategory. Okay, so I created a table to show me the count of what we have sold in terms of the category now. So for phones, what did we sell? We sold under the technology category, we sold 189 of them. One of the nice thing about the attribute slicer also is that it allows you to see what you are actually what has been filtered, right? So the amazing thing is that it allows you to see where the filter has been applied, right? And what has also been applied to the filter, right? So what I want now is this number, it only shows when I over it, right? I need it to show so that I can see. I'm just going to come to format, selecting the visual. I'm going to come to format. I will come to display, and I'm going to always on the values, right? So, and you can see the values right here. Other formatting options that you can also do, you can reduce the width of the slicer. You can also, it allows you to select, and as you are selecting, you can see that it is adding up everything that I've selected in my category, right? So what I want is, I just want only one item to be selected, right? So I'm just going to clear all, and I will scroll. I'll come to selection, and I can put on single select. So I can only select one item at a time. Okay, I can also add up the subtotals so that I can see that at a glance. Okay, so imagine you have several products, right? the search box allows you to be able to search. I know we have this on the regular slicer as well. The search box allows you to be able to search from the varieties of subcategories that you have on your axis. Okay, so is there any question? I think was I too fast?
No, I don't think so. At least I was following very well.
Okay.
But
So
I guess they're also following. Because usually when people don't ask questions, they maybe some are waiting to the end, or they're thinking of where to apply and get your ideas. But it means that everything you said you were able to follow, no missing gaps. Okay, someone is
all right.
asking, could you take the oh, okay, someone is saying, can you do the attribute slicer again? Uh,
Okay. All right. So I'm just going to take everything away, right? I'll take everything away and attribute slicer. So let me create a table first. Subcategories, category, and total sales. Okay, so I'll bring in my attribute slicer and I'm just going to add my subcategory to the slicer. Okay, by what value do I want to see the subcategory? I want to see it by my sales. Okay, so I'm going to add up my total sales to the slicer as well. Total sales, I'm going to add it up. I will just format this a little bit. Come to the format your visual option, display, and I'm going to always on values. Okay. So I can search for a particular product. So let's say I'm looking for phones. Okay. If I click on that, I'm able to see a breakdown of what we have sold and the categories that we sold that particular product. Okay, so what I want really is to be able to make just one selection, because right here I can select as many items as possible, but what I really want is just one item to be selected. Okay, so I'm going to come to selection and I'm going to put on the single select. That gives me the option to select one item at a time. I also don't like this visual. I also like this total that we have on both axes. So I can just come and say total. Okay, so I think that does it.
So looks good. Okay, so I think maybe we'll carry on. If you have any question, please just drop in the chat box or raise your hand and I'll notice. So I think we are good.
Any question?
So for now, no questions. I think we can carry on.
Okay, so there are other types of slicers, right? Like when I was also preparing for this, I came across a very interesting slicer that you can create several hierarchies inside another hierarchy, right? But I've not used it, so uh, just because we have enough time, let's see how we can play around that. So the slicer is called the pivot slicer. Okay, and the pivot slicer provides a unified list of lists approach to viewing, navigating, and slicing data. While regular slicer act on a single data dimension, pivot slicers enable dynamic pivoting over any combination of categorical data types. Okay, so let's just add that up and it's quite interesting. I've not used this, so maybe sometime we can see how this actually works in terms of visualization, but it's just interesting to know that there are a whole lot of varieties
Yeah.
of items that you have in terms of custom visuals. And like my boss will always say that, in those days, a lot of people that did their visualization mainly or mostly worked on custom visuals. Not now that we have everything, ironed out for us. So I need questions
Okay.
now. So I'll take questions.
Okay. Awesome. So even I have questions, and maybe I'll start with mine while others also begin to think about theirs. So I'm looking. Okay, so we have 12 more minutes, and just so we reward those who have waited this long, we can do the you asking them question. We can do that part now. Then. So if you look through all what you've taught, and just so that someone who must have been following very well is the only person who, you know, will probably get what you want to ask. So you can ask a question to the audience, and the person who gets the answer correctly, types the answer in the chat box, will be getting our enterprise DNA giveaway for today. So maybe we'll start with that one.
Okay. So the question is just really, in what scenario would you use, would you prefer the timeline slicer as against the play axis? What kind of a business requirement require you to use a timeline slicer ahead of a play axis.
Okay, so I hope we all got the question. And please, your time starts now. Begin to put your answer in the chat box. What business requirement will make you go with a timeline slicer over a play axis? All right. So while they are racking their heads to provide answer to that question, I can go into the questions that we usually ask every presenter we have. And question number one is, so how did you get into the Power BI space?
Okay, all right. So I schooled in the north, right? And I went to Kaduna Polytechnic precisely. And in 2018, I was done with my program. I was done 2017, late 2017, and I came to Lagos. And I met uh, my boss at Ahmed Oilo, right? And he was having a Power BI training then. So I was really not doing anything as at the time. So I decided to join the class. And I think I didn't, that was in 2019. Yeah. So, but before then, I'd done several jobs on Excel previously. I've been using Excel time to time. And in 2019, the opportunity came to go to one of Ahmed's training, and I joined the boot camp. And during the boot camp, I was, it was really interesting because I couldn't really understand anything because as I then I didn't really have that corporate experience, So when I hear people saying IT cannot give me certain file, I'm wondering who is IT. So not that I don't know anything about the computer, right? I have computer knowledge, but that business knowledge was really not just there. I'd worked in with a clothing line before, or not in the context. I was just an admin person. I didn't do anything related to the business. Okay, so it was after that I worked with a consulting firm, Mate Consulting. Yeah, so then Mate Consulting, I left Mate middle in July this year, and I decided that I want to focus. Although I have been doing the business intelligence work at the background, I provide support to people, and I also do some little training. Okay, and Ahmed, he really he has always been the boss that he is. He kept on encouraging me,
Okay.
down to my exams, my Power BI
Wow.
exams. He had to give me a timeline for me to write the exam, and that was just it. So here we are.
Wow. So for you, it was more of a deliberate effort, kind of like you watched out for things that will move you in the direction of what you want, like what you said about streamlining and choosing, making deliberate choices of attending that boot camp and also even now working fully with Ahmed. So yes, I even see a lot of similarities in your training delivery. So I guess you really watched out for somebody that was a bit more like you guys had some bit of things in common, and you were like, oh, I really want to follow after this person and progress in that
Yeah.
direction. That's awesome. That's awesome. So people are beginning. Okay, so my team too, we had to do timeline for exam too. I think timeline works. Otherwise, people sometimes keep thinking that thing in that exam is going to need more reading and reading and reading as we are reading, they are adding more features. So
Yeah.
I want to. Two people have actually provided answer. I want you to look at the answer and tell us if which one feel is the one you're going to pick as the best, and priority is from number one down. So if both of them are equal, then it will be the first person, except if it's a thumbs up you would do for us to make it easy to visually notice.
Okay. When you want not just a single hierarchy in the date, you want to see all hierarchies in your date, then the timeline slicer is a choice, not the play axis. The play axis allows for a single date hierarchy. I think I like the first person, Hussain.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, great. So let me like his answer for you on your or if you can help us do the liking since you're the person in charge today. So it's also your namesake a bit. So Oga Ahmed, okay, sorry. I keep fixing Ahmed. So Oga Ahmed, Mushin is is also one of the power people in the space. So it's kind of cheating itself answering questions here. So, but we have to give him the prize. So, Oga Ahmed, please just email us at my colleague has sent the email. So just please send your name to the email at webinar at your business. And just to ask you, because it's the Enterprise DNA subscription we are giving out, just to confirm, do you have it already? Because we've had cases where someone said they already had it. So if you have it before, it will just be the same thing they will give you again. We could maybe begin to look for second, how do we put it now, in university where you want to apply. There's the person or there's the school you pick first choice, then second choice. So just let us know if you have it, then maybe we can begin to also work with who you would like us to give among the audience. But thank you very much and congratulations to Mr. Mushin Amit. And any other questions about what we've done today? Any, or even ideas? It could be something not specifically to what is covered, because to be sincere, what you've covered will take a bit of time digesting and begin to think of how I'm going to use this in different business scenarios or practical scenarios I have. But what I want to also allow the audience to ask is questions uh, that Power BI related that they might like to have your ideas on or something they are working on. Thank God I know a bit of people here. One of them has run away, Chesa. Cheska has run away or has run away. But for any other person in the house, you have questions or opinions or comments, or you're working on something and you like to get his own opinion on how to go about it. Yeah, this is your choice to take the next 3 minutes to get free consulting. So anybody wants to take up the offer? No invoice, we won't send you any invoice. Okay. All right. I think they do not seem to have any special request for us. No Christmas request. So thank you to everyone then, and special thanks also to Hakeem for taking his time to do this very thorough. And I like the way you always explain things. You don't make any assumptions. So you explain the problem, what the solution is going to look like, and why we should go after that solution. What's wrong with the one that will come to our mind? It's a very robust way of teaching people something. You're like as if you've experienced everything that they could come across in their mind, and you have provided it. Maybe that's where we are not having questions, because someone will have asked, why are we not using the normal slides? But you've already answered that question ahead. you
Yeah.
know so that's a very wonderful way of delivering sessions, and it's amazing. And thank you very, very much. And to
Yeah. Thank
everybody, to all my bosses who joined, LM, Gabriel, Jide, Caspar, Adeyinka, Mikey, Popola, Olayinka, Musa. To everyone, we appreciate and we are grateful for your joining us, and we want to say have a very wonderful week ahead. So see you all next week.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.